Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I paste it up to Facebook. I also do Wednesday questions and post them up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So all you got to do is get onto BetterHelp, www.betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out some questions, and they will place you with a licensed professional master's level or PhD level therapist in your area. Or if you're out of the country, they will place you with somebody who can do that. So according to their state laws. So anyway, there is that. Thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. I've gotten really good feedback. People seem to like the therapist they're being placed with. If they don't like their therapist, all they got to do is say, I don't like them, and then fill out some more questions, and they'll place you with somebody else. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, let's dive into last week's questions. So the first question I want to hit on is actually one I got on my website. Somebody sent this in an email. How do I deal with a sibling who has ADHD, depression, and anxiety, and autism? I don't understand. Please help me to understand. Please explain. So it's really hard when you have a sibling that has multiple mental health issues going on. So ADHD is something in the brain chemistry is not regulating their attention span, and hyperactivity. Depression and anxiety, again, that could be a brain chemistry issue. Autism, definitely a brain chemistry issue. So neurodivergent. So to siblings, it can seem like the brother or the sister is doing things on purpose, like, oh, they're just being stubborn, or oh, they're being difficult, or oh, they're being whatever. But the reality of it is their brain is unable to process the same way that a healthy, non-neurodivergent brain would process, or a non-ADHD brain would process. So they have a different way of looking at things. They have a different way of seeing things. They have a different attention level. Depression could possibly be clinical, which means there's a chemical missing in their brain that helps them to feel happy. Anxiety, that could be because of the ADHD. It could be because of the autism. Autism is neurodivergent and it's on a spectrum. So, they can be severely, profoundly affected, or they can be lightly affected. But they still will have maybe sometimes a hard time recognizing other people's emotions, for example. So on the spectrum, if they're functioning, they may have things like, somebody could be upset and crying in front of them, and it won't click to them that that person is upset and crying. Now, that kind of mimics narcissism in that the narcissist doesn't acknowledge that we're having an emotion, or they get angry when we have an emotion. But that's not narcissism. That's simply an aspect of the neurodivergence. So really what it is you have to understand, if your sibling has got all of these issues going on, their behavior is not necessarily doing it on purpose. It's probably because of the brain chemistry is just not in the right mix. So if they're getting help, that's great, and they should be. Absolutely, to help them get on the right mood stabilizing drugs that will help with the anxiety and the depression. They need to get into somebody who knows how to work with neurodivergent people, brains, and ADHD. That needs to be addressed as well. And that will take a psychiatrist, because if you're dealing with depression and anxiety, could be bipolar. I don't know. I don't have this person in front of me. But if they've got bipolar and ADHD going on, you got to make sure that that psychiatrist knows exactly what to prescribe so that it doesn't send them off into a manic episode or a depression episode. So anyway, I hope that answers the question. They're not doing it on purpose. If they're being difficult to be around, it's not like they wake up in the morning and go, hey, how can I make my sibling's life miserable? It's because their brain chemistry is not producing the needed brain chemicals to keep them on an even keel. So I hope that answered the question. If it didn't, please let me know, and I will try to give a more in-depth answer to that question. But I wanted to answer that because I thought that was important. So the way you deal with them is you don't assume that it's on purpose. Never, ever assume that it's on purpose. You be open, you be honest. If they're doing something you don't like, you tell them. And, and I'm assuming that this is like, teenagers still living in the household kind of thing. If this is an adult, same thing, open, honest. If they're doing something that you don't like, you tell them, and if you need to, you walk away, but don't assume that it's personal, because it usually isn't. So when they've got multiple mental health issues going on, ADHD, depression, anxiety, autism, it messes with their brain chemistry. They need to be on mood stabilizers to help them with the anxiety and the depression, and probably the ADHD. Autism is going to take some working with them kind of thing, letting them know, hey, I'm feeling this. They may not pick up on visual cues. So you need to let them know, what are you feeling? Because they may not necessarily, it may not click in their mind that they're annoying you, or it may not click in their mind that you're sad, or it may not click in their mind that you're angry. So you may need to tell them. So you're going to have to be a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like over explaining or over talking. I don't mean talking over them. I mean, like, you're going to have to lay out what you're feeling so that they understand. So you're going to have to explain a little more to them what you're feeling, why you want them to stop, that kind of thing. So I hope that helps. If it does not, please do let me know, and I will give a more in-depth answer, or give me more specifics so that I can work with that and help you through whatever is going on. Okay, let's dive into the leftover questions. Okay, do narcissists lack their own dreams? Yes. Well, sometimes. So, overt narcissists don't. They're very like, I'm going to be king of the world, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. A lot of times it's very delusional. But no, some of the overt ones definitely have their own dreams. The covert ones, yeah, they may lack their own dreams, for sure. All right. It seems they have very empty lives and try to destroy others because they want something they can't have. That is 110% correct. Yes. They do not generally have close friends. They do not generally have successful lives. They're generally, divorced multiple times. Kids aren't talking to them. They're miserable. They're angry. They're bitter. They get worse as they get old. Oh my God. And so, no, they do get angry when somebody has got a happy life and a happy relationship and kids that love them and things like that. They're very jealous, very, very pathologically, morbidly jealous. Absolutely. Because they can't, it's so funny. They're able to track everything else back to them, but they can't seem to take responsibility for the reason why nobody likes them. It's funny. It's like they always insert themselves into everything else, but they refuse to go, oh, this is why, people are not talking to me. This is why I have no friends. This is why blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, they love to destroy other people because they want something that they can't have, and they can't feel the way that we feel. So when they see somebody happy, it enrages them. I mean, tell you what, I can tell a collapsed older narcissist by how they respond to people laughing. So if they get angry that somebody is laughing and having a good time, oh my gosh, you're dealing with a collapsed older narcissist. Absolutely, because somebody is feeling something that they themselves cannot feel. And they're angry and they're jealous and they're petty and they want it to stop because they're very aware that they cannot feel it. So yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. What if you married someone with abusive tendencies, toxic? They knew you wanted a family as you came out of abuse and went no contact. They still coerce you to get abortions, still no children. Ooh. Okay. The question is, why are you with somebody who's abusive and toxic? What are you getting out of it? If you really want to have a family, you've got to be your own family. You've got to work on you, and it will never happen with an abuser or somebody who's toxic. So if they've got enough toxic traits or enough abusive traits that you're telling me that they've got those traits, it's probably more than you're actually admitting. So I really strongly encourage you to get with a trauma therapist and work on what are you doing in this relationship? What the heck? So yeah, if a family is important to you and this person is encouraging you to abort when you do get pregnant, that's a typical abuse behavior. So they either encourage the person to abort when they do want children, or they force somebody to have a baby when they don't want children. So that is something that is unique to abusive domestic violence, narcissists, that type of thing. Excuse me. Oh, gotta grab my water. Hold on. Oh, it's all the way across the desk. So you want to get with a good trauma therapist and figure out, what are you doing? Why are you in this relationship? Why are you staying? What's going on? Why are you allowing this person to coerce you into things you don't want to do? So, Self-Esteem Workbook, Glenn Schiraldi. Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker. Get with a good trauma therapist, and do not allow your partner to see any of these books. If they know you're working on yourself, I can guarantee you they'll make sure you can't. The books will be lost, disappear, destroyed, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Does dysregulated attachment style automatically mean borderline personality disorder? It can. It's not automatic. So, but it can. So a dysregulated attachment style means it's up, down, up, down, up, down. It could mean that. Absolutely. Okay. My father told me he, not doctors, saved my life through prayer when I was born. My mom had complications when I was born. I'm a 50-year-old woman, and he still brings this up. How do I get him to stop? You're not going to. You're not going to. You're not. He's somehow wrapped his ego in this, and he feels he has a direct line to God, and he alone, he and God saved your life. So he's not going to stop, and you can't make him. And the more he knows that it bothers you, the more he's going to do it. So when he starts on that line, you either leave or you tune him out or whatever, but do not respond. Gray rock. You're going to gray rock. So you're not going to give him any response. No anger, no happy, no sad, no nothing. Your tears are delicious to them. Your anger is delicious to them. Give them nothing. Nothing. You know, so that his ego is wrapped up in that somehow. So, yep, you betcha. You don't get him to stop. The only person you can change in this scenario is how you respond to it. Because you can tell him to stop. He's not going to. You know, it's not going to happen. So you change the way you react to it. Just either don't react, gray rock, no emotion, or you get up and leave. You know, oh, gotta go, phone's ringing, dentist is calling, I don't know, whatever. Can mirror work include saying nice things about yourself without looking in the mirror? Yes. Absolutely. So that's positive affirmations. The mirror work just kind of reinforces that because you're looking at yourself in your own eyes. For example, telling myself I love me for when I set the coffee maker for the night before. Yeah, you can do that if you want to. It's positive affirmations. That's all it is. I just want you to speak kindly to you. That's really what I want. I really want you all, everyone, to get your core worth, that you have value, that you have worth, just doing nothing, just being here, just being a child of the universe. And positive affirmations help with that inner cheerleader. So you want the inner cheerleader to be like, go you set the coffee maker, fantastic. You don't want the inner critic to be like, oh, you did this, you did that, blah, 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 blah. You know? So you want to shut down the inner critic. You want to boost up the inner cheerleader. Absolutely. Positive affirmations. Yes, I did the right thing today. Yay, team. You don't have to look in the mirror, but it helps to kind of get that eye contact going because then you're kind of talking directly to your inner child. So there's a reason why I have people do that. So it's really important to re-parent yourself after having been raised by abusers, narcissists, etc., because we don't give ourselves permission to do a lot of things. We don't give ourselves permission to enjoy the things we did right. We don't give ourselves permission to relax. We don't give ourselves permission to be successful. We don't give ourselves permission to, say nice things to ourselves. So yeah, it's really important. So even if you can't look in the mirror, say them to yourself. Say the good things. Yes, it is okay for me to relax. It is okay for me to acknowledge what I've done right. It is okay for me to be successful. It is okay for me to like myself. So I want you to practice that. Absolutely. Whether you can look in the mirror or not, just looking in the mirror kind of directly starts talking to the inner child. So that's why I like that. Okay. Let's see. How does the short hair feel? You seem so light and free. How not to be afraid of change? How did you begin trying to be spontaneous? Have you always been a bit free-spirited? I like the short hair, but I am now growing it back out because I miss the long hair. I did love it. When I first cut it off, whacked it off super short. Oh my God, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I still do like it, but I do miss my hair long, so I am going to grow it back out. How not to be afraid of change. So narcissists, abusers, are terrified of change. Terrified. Black and white thinking. Black and white thinking. So good, bad, all, nothing, black, white. That's how they think. And they give that to their children. So it's really getting out of the black and white thinking and recognize that it's a rainbow of emotions, a rainbow of colors, a rainbow of feelings, a rainbow of experiences, a rainbow of, it's all sorts of fun stuff. So you just kind of start recognizing when you're doing the black and white thinking, and you start opening up your horizons so that it's not this, it's this, So that's what you want to do. How did you begin trying to be spontaneous? I have always been a bit of a free spirit. I have to tell you that. So when I was 21, I decided I was going to backpack across Europe. Parents had a fit. Dad was absolutely opposed to it. Mom grudgingly was like, okay. And of course, at that point, I was still like, well, I need their permission before I go. I didn't need their permission. I don't know what I was thinking at that point. So I went to Europe and I backpacked across Europe. And the last thing my mom said to me before I left was, don't go to any communist countries. So I made a beeline for East Germany. Yeah. And this was in 1986. So, and it was great. I mean, it was fascinating to see an East, a communist country. And how very little humor anybody had there. It was kind of sad. And it was great because it was kind of like, tell me not to do something that I know is not necessarily dangerous, and I'm going to go do it. It's like, you're not the boss of me kind of thing. So I've always been a bit of a rebel, always. And I've always been a bit of a free spirit. But with some things, like we talked about on Sunday, there were some things that were trauma responses that were really hard for me to give up, like overpacking, like overthinking, like, trying to plan for every contingency. Oh my gosh, we have a fire going on in the Phoenix area. This mulch place caught on fire, and so the entire area has been filled with smoke for days. Anyway, hold on. It really boils down to, what do you tell yourself? What do you tell yourself? So when I decided to go to East Germany, I was nervous. I was scared, obviously. And I kind of went, okay, well, the worst that can happen is they put me in jail for something. And, oh, well, they're going to be miserable with me around. So, I mean, it was kind of like, and logically it's like, are they really going to put me in jail for just being a tourist? Well, as long as I follow the rules, then I should be okay. Now, would I go to a communist country today? No. So of course the leadership back then was a little different. So, but how not to be afraid of change. It's really what you tell yourself. Now, when I was growing up, I was terrified of change. As a little kid, I was terrified of change. Every time we went somewhere new, I would throw up. I really would. It's like if we went to a new restaurant, I'd get an upset stomach because it was something I didn't know, So again, that's a trauma response. And if parents are paying attention, if their kid is getting that anxious about going somewhere new, what is that really about? Well, what it really was about was, what is my dad going to do? How is he going to behave? How is he going to act? What is he going to do to ruin the night? What is he going to do to try to, reach across the table and slap one of us? He was a loose cannon. He was scary. So change did scare me as a kid, and it translated as an adult to overpacking, overthinking, overpreparing, bringing maps, paper maps when I had GPS, that whole thing. So really it's a matter of making a decision. So like that time that I decided to go traveling without making a reservation, I sat myself down literally, and it was almost like, okay, self, here's the deal. You've got a phone. You're going to a big city. There's more than one hotel. You'll find a place to stay. It's okay. You don't need to make a reservation. It's all right. I had to like literally talk myself through it. So reparent myself. So it was like adult me talking to inner child me going, look, kiddo, it's safe. It's okay. There's plenty of hotels. We're not going to a one hotel, one stoplight town. We're going to a big city that has tons of hotels. We'll find something. Be spontaneous. It's okay. So giving yourself permission. And honestly, working mirror work, doing the mirror work. I had to do mirror work about that. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay to be spontaneous. It's okay to not over prepare. It's okay, seriously. So you just work on that, and giving yourself permission is a huge part of it. The other thing is what are you telling yourself about it? So my inner child was always like, danger, 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 because of my dad. And so I had to be like, no, sweetie, there's no saber-toothed tiger here. Bob is dead. You don't have to deal with him. He'd be dead. DED dead. He's not an issue anymore. You're okay. Everything's fine. You know what I'm saying? So, you just have to have a little chat with your inner child. And it's baby steps. And it's funny because it's like I can be spontaneous in some things and not spontaneous in others. And John pointed those out to me, like traveling, he was like, you've really got to learn to relax. And I'm just like, what do you mean I am relaxed? This is relaxed, So it's a matter of giving yourself permission. It's okay. The unknown can be exceedingly fun. For us, though, being raised by an abuser who was unpredictable, a loose cannon, you never knew which way they were going to go. One day you could walk in and say good morning to them and it would be fine. The next day you could walk into them and say good morning to them and it would be an absolute disaster. That's what creates that I need the same thing every day. That's what creates that fear of the unknown, because it was, you never knew. You never knew what was going to set your abuser off. And that's terrifying to a kid. So reassuring the inner child, working on the inner child workbook, hugely helpful. Giving yourself permission, really reinforcing that it can be fun. It's fun. It's fun to do unknown things. It is. And, you prepare as much as you can, right? But then you got to let go. So remember, a lot of this is letting go of the old thoughts, the mistaken beliefs, the old way of doing things that kept us safe when we were kids, but now no longer serve us as adults. So that's really getting your spontaneity back, scheduling one spontaneity thing a month. Hey, guess what? We're going to get in the car and we're going to go. We'll see where it takes us, So, so that's one way to do it. Absolutely. Or doing something that you've never done before, but you've always wanted to do, but your parents told you no. That's another thing. My parents were very against sports, and I loved sports growing up. So, of course, they made sure I couldn't play sports. Don't get me started. Which is why I love surfing, which is why I love swimming, which is why I love paddleboarding, which is why I love the ocean so much. Oh my God, what am I doing in a desert? Anyway, the point being is you do one spontaneous thing a month. Pick something, go do something, and reinforce the fun, and give yourself permission and comfort yourself, soothe yourself. What you tell yourself is really important, because for years we had that negative, nasty telling us all these lies. Now we've got to be like, stop. You know what, little one, you're safe. You're okay. It's okay for us to go to this big city without a hotel reservation. We got this. It's okay. So you don't want to do dangerous, but you do want to do spontaneous and fun, and reinforce that. And the more things are spontaneous and fun, the more your inner child is going to relax and trust you. So Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor. Inner Child Workbook, Lucia Cappuccioni. That would be my big suggestion. Mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. It's okay to be spontaneous. It is. And then walk out, so do that. Okay, my loves, that is all the time I have today. So next week, we're going to be talking about your relationship with food. and how our abusers really influence that. So we're going to talk about that. Have a great week. Drink plenty of water. Use sunscreen. And I will talk to you later. Bye.